Joining us now, it's Joe diGenova, legal analyst, former U.S. attorney to the District of Columbia, and a regular guest here on Mornings on the Mall. Joe, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Well, you're probably doing better than James Comey and Loretta Lynch, who are receiving subpoenas to testify. Comey on the 29th, Lynch on December 5th, closed-door testimony. The Republicans trying to get some of these in before they are no longer in power. What are we looking for here? What's the point of this? Or are they just wrapping up loose ends?
Well, let me just say, first of all, that these subpoenas by Goodlatte are an embarrassing joke to the Republican Party. That they come at this hour, in the 11th hour of their power in the House of Representatives, is a victory for Ryan and McCarthy, who did everything that they could to prevent these types of subpoenas from being issued. Goodlatte should be embarrassed. The fact that he buckled under their pressure not to issue subpoenas for more than a year and a half is an insult to every Republican who voted for Republican control of the House. And this is why Republicans no longer are in the majority. There are two reasons they lost the majority. Not issuing subpoenas like this, and John McCain voting against Obamacare in the Senate. I can't imagine how Goodlatte, with a straight face, can go on television or radio and say that they've finally gotten to this point. Does he think that everybody out there is stupid? So let's put this together. Suppose James Comey doesn't show up, and suppose Loretta Lynch doesn't show up. What's he going to do? Is he going to have them held in contempt? He won't be controlling the House. The next House will withdraw the contempt. This is so stupid, so wasteful, so insulting. But how about if both of them take the fifth? They could have done that 2 years ago. I tell you something. Goodlatte is an embarrassment, and so is everybody else on that committee who went along with this. The only heroes here are the people from the Freedom Caucus, people like Meadows and Jordan, people who stood up for the House process. This is a joke. These subpoenas are a joke. They will lead to nothing.
Well, Republican congressman also got manhandled, right, if I'm not wrong, Joe, by Rod Rosenstein, who was supposed to testify and then didn't testify, and then we never resolved that either.
Look, that's all Ryan and McCarthy preventing them from moving against Rosenstein. I never would have done the impeachment thing against him, but I can understand the frustration of the Freedom Caucus for wanting to do that. Listen, Rosenstein is the single most dishonest public official in the 21st century. The guy he's a mole inside the Justice Department. If that isn't obvious to anybody who has more than a first-grade education, they've got something wrong with them. And the fact that Whitaker has been given control over the Mueller investigation is the single most important decision that has been made about this. And I just have to say also, the absence of Jeff Sessions from that department is fabulous.
Let me just to get more information on that, though. You say it's the single most important decision. Why is it the most important decision?
Because Rosenstein is complicit in an effort to remove Donald Trump from the presidency. Mm-hmm. He was, in fact, engaged in discussions with McCabe and Strzok and Page and Baker to wire someone to get information in meetings with the President of the United States. They wanted to do overhears of the President to use the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. Rosenstein was at the center of this conspiracy. And the reason we got Mueller was when Rosenstein wrote the memo to fire Comey, he was under, Sessions says, write the memo, give us the reasons to fire him. He wrote it. When McCabe found out that Jeff Sessions had written that memo and it led to Comey's firing, there was a huge blow-up. There was a huge, gigantic meeting, and Strzok and McCabe and everybody blew up at Rosenstein. And he's such a wuss, Rosenstein is such a manipulator, that he said, okay, guys, don't be too mad. Here's what I'll do. I'll give you Mueller as special counsel. And they were happy.
It was a face-saving maneuver. And it was always so weird to me that, from the outside, as somebody's not like you, Joe, not with a legal background, you look at this and you see a bunch of people recusing themselves for their incidental contact with any of this investigation. Rod Rosenstein, right square at the center, writing a letter recommending the firing of James Comey. That actually happens. And then somehow he gets to appoint a special counsel and be in charge of that investigation and yet not claim that he has a conflict of interest at all.
Not only is he a material witness, if, as in fact, Mueller's people claim it was a crime to fire Comey, which is ludicrous, then Rosenstein is a co-conspirator, not just a material witness, because he gave the legal basis for getting rid of him.
Sure.
Look, Rosenstein, what this tells you about is these so-called ethics officers in the Justice Department, the people who are giving this advice to Sessions, where were they with Rosenstein? Where are they? Where are these fabulous ethics people, these strong-willed individuals, life service, career people, no political bias? Where are they talking to Rosenstein about his conflict? And the answer is they didn't tell him because they didn't want to tell him, because they wanted him in charge. They wanted him as part of the cabal against the President of the United States. Listen, that place is a mess. The Department of Justice needs to be rent asunder. It is a rat hole of Democratic career people. And anybody who doesn't understand that, who does business with that department, is a fool. And I pray to God that Whitaker fights and keeps and stays where he is, and that the President names someone who, when they are named, is going to cause people to go to the bathroom. They're so concerned.
Joe, very quickly, in the minute that we have left, what about Strzok and Page? You mentioned them. We haven't heard those names in a while. Do we see any kind of charges brought against them? We know that there's been lying under oath. So we've got all these loose ends. Do they get wrapped up?
In the current Justice Department as it exists, not because Whitaker's in charge, but because he hasn't had chance to change the situation there. This guy, Huber, what's he doing? That was a head fake. Nothing. Uranium one of his charges, one of the things he's supposed to investigate, hasn't even interviewed our client, Douglas Campbell, the lead FBI informant on Uranium One, who told the FBI about the Russian attempt to get 20% of our uranium supplies. You cannot trust the Department of Justice at this point. And if those morons up on Capitol Hill in the House are issuing subpoenas right now at the 11th hour, what a disgrace. This should have been laid out on the public record a long time ago. Yeah. And they were all, Bryan and McCarthy are responsible for this. Shame on them. Can you imagine McCarthy's going to be the minority leader? The guy's an idiot. He's a total political and legal idiot. Perfectly coiffed hair, California moron. Great. Aren't we lucky?
Joe, before we let you go on that hot note, I've seen some people say, you know who should be Attorney General? Is Joe diGenova. Would you ever do something like that?
I would take the job as Attorney General in a New York minute, because there's one reason. The minute somebody like me, not just me, but somebody like me who knew that's like Andy McCarthy or Victoria Tunsing or me, got announced, people in that building would freeze out of fear, because they know that we're the type of people who would come in there and run it. And that their days would be numbered if they dared interfere with the constitutional duties of the President of the United States. And make no mistake about it, the agenda of the people in that department under Rod Rosenstein is to thwart this president and to undo him and remove him from office. And it is absolutely sickening that somebody like Rosenstein continues in office.
All right, Joe, thank you so much. And who knows, maybe down the road we'll be calling you Attorney General. Joe diGenova.
I don't think so.
Have a great Thanksgiving, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy Turkey Day.
All right, thanks.